This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Hey, I'm Candice Lim.
And I'm Kate Lindsay. And you're listening to ICYMI.
In case you missed it.
Slate's podcast about internet culture. And Candice, today's episode is going to start a little bit differently because today I have a prop.
Props. Famously useful visual tools for audio podcasts.
But listen, even if you can't see it, this is something you can hear.
ASMR, okay.
So
okay.
Candice, yeah, ASMR. Do you know what a dirty soda is?
No, and I'm scared.
So a dirty soda is a soda that's kind of just been jazzed up with things like syrup and creamer and half. It sounds awful, but it is best known for being the favorite drink of MomTok, the Mormon women who make up the cast of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which is a newish reality show on Hulu. Their second season just came out. That is the subject of our episode today. But first, I wanted to do a taste test.
Yeah, and I just want to say you really hauled ass up and down New York to find this. I'm really proud of you. Let's talk about it.
No one asked me to do this, by the way. I just was like, I gotta, because Mormons typically do not drink alcohol or drink coffee. So these sort of dirty sodas are essentially their version of a silly little drink. Once you see it, you'll notice that all the women in The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives are holding these. Like, you may think they're acting like that because they're drunk, but just look at what they're holding. They are just hopped up on sugar and cream.
It's their go-go juice. And so what kind did you get?
Okay, well, first I should say that the place where you see most of these women get their dirty sodas in the show is a franchise called Swig. It has locations all over the South and Midwest of the U.S., but 0 in California, so I couldn't force you to do this, Candice, but also 0 on the East Coast in general. Oh. The closest one is in Tennessee, and I did not have time to go there this afternoon.
Right.
But I kind of went as far because I went to FIDI. So it's a place called Cool Sips. It's another dirty soda shop, but it's based in New York, and they have a few locations, and it's just here in the city. And I got a drink from there called the Dirty Dirty.
Oh, wow. Do I even want to know what's in that?
Okay, so you're about to find out, you and I. Because, well, my heart would have preferred something like the Malibu, which is Pepsi, caramel, and sweet cream. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to go all out for the pod. Didn't want to half-ass it. So instead, I got arguably the craziest one on the menu, which is the Dirty Dirty. It's made up of Dr. Pepper, coconut, lime, and half.
See, like you had me until the half, and my mind just went like chunky. I'm so scared.
It has been in the office fridge for all of an hour, and I can't say it's held up well, but
yeah.
So that might color my. Like, actually, one of the things I'm actually really scared of, Candice.
Yeah.
Is that I'm gonna love it. And then I'm going to start wanting to go to this place.
And you're like, I want a membership. I'm going there every day. I'm a regular. I'm also Mormon, question mark?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what this is going to start, but okay, I'm going to do a sip. All right, so this is Dr. Pepper, coconut, lime, and half. Fuck, that's really good. I mean, it's insane.
Oh my God. Wait. Describe to me the notes.
Okay.
Talk to me about the notes.
Okay, hold on, yeah. Oh my God, wait, it's like, okay, so it's Dr. Pepper, but it almost takes, the coconut and lime takes like the edge off the Dr. Pepper. They blend beautifully. The half and half, hold on. The half and half, I can't really, I mean, I think what it maybe adds is more so like it's just a texture thing.
Sure.
Not chunky as you were worried, but like.
Is it milky?
You know, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of carbonation. Again, this has been sitting in the fridge, so maybe the carbonation used to be heavier. But yeah, I would say it just cuts it a little bit, adds a little bit of milk, which sounds bad. Obviously, it does sound bad, but it's exactly what I feared, which is I really like it.
You've taken like 5 sips in the last 30 seconds.
really like it.
Okay, so like I'm a scientist, obviously. I'm a food scientist. And so part of me is kind of like, is it the Dr. Pepper plus the half and half gives it like a root beer float, but like a smoother.
Yeah.
And then the coconut lime, like the coconut, I guess, is a little bit of like in that same realm.
Yeah, coconut and lime go well together, and I would just say, because I'm not a Dr. Pepper drinker because it overwhelms me, I would say somehow the addition of the coconut and lime makes the Dr. Pepper make sense. Like, it suddenly isn't like, Jesus Christ, what is this? It's like, oh, we're our own thing. It really, I feel like there's like a little bit of just like a too muchness with Dr. Pepper that weirdly, with coconut and lime, it complements it in a way that is goes down a lot smoother.
Yeah. Okay, I have 2 follow-up questions. Number 1, how much was this?
Oh my God, that is a great question. Hold on, I used Apple Pay. Let me see if I can. Cool sips. Okay, so I did tip 20%, but what it was in total was $8.16.
I'm just, because I'm like, could I make this at home? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely could make this at home for much cheaper. Because what they had back in the background was like the same exact like flavor shots that you see at coffee shops and that you can buy for yourself.
Oh, okay. Do they like shake it? Do they blend it? Do they spin it?
They probably do like a... I don't know. He was working the magic behind the scenes. I know he had like a fountain soda stitch and then I think pump, half and half, swirl.
Interesting.
Hand to me and then let it sit for 2 hours and sip it on a podcast.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, Kate, I'm really proud of you for making this adventure, really taking this hike to a new level. And it sounds like after a couple of those, you'd also start wilding out like the women of MomTok, whose role in the Mormon mommy blogging extended universe is exactly what we're breaking down today. If you haven't seen it, we're going to be talking about the 1st and 2nd season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. There are a lot of names, but we will catch you up. But first, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Sara Petersen, the author of Momfluenced, to talk about Season 2 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and later how Mormon mommy blogging has been completely transformed.
Hi, listeners. I hope you're enjoying today's show. If this is your first time listening, then welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. In case you missed it, our show comes out twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so make sure you never miss an episode, like this past Wednesdays on Kevin and Grant, 2 Greek life chefs whose TikTok followers love getting into the unglamorous kitchens of frat and sorority houses.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today? Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices, and that's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies, so you can save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states and situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Vacation season is nearly upon us, and this year it's time to treat yourself to the luxe upgrades you deserve with Quince's high-quality travel essentials at fair prices. I just came back from a trip, and the whole time I was using a hand-me-down suitcase with a broken handle. It's certainly not going to last through summer. Next time, though, I'd take one of Quince's best-selling expandable carry-on suitcases so I can breeze through airports while still taking everything I need with me. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands, like lightweight European linen styles from $30, washable silk tops, and comfy lounge sets, with premium luggage options and stylish tote bags to carry it all. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. For your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/online for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/online to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/online. And we're back, and joining us today to talk all about MomTok and Mormon mommy bloggers is Sara Petersen. Sara, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So you and I have met before. We have had tons of conversations about momfluencers and trad wives and everything in between. I do want to get into today's subject, but first, Sara, we have to ask what we ask all first-time guests, which is, what is your first internet memory?
This question is so funny because I don't think I've ever considered what it could be. So the two things that come to mind, I grew up in the era of like sitting in the upstairs hallway waiting for the dial-up to kick in with all the weird noises and the scratchy, staticky noises. And I was like, did free cell count as the internet? Because like that was a very big thing in my peer group. We would like play free cell and like solitaire.
Yeah, I feel like anything on the computer counts because like that was so mind-blowing.
Yeah,
you and I was get like the pinball game that would come on like Dell.
Yes! Oh
I loved the pinball game. Yeah.
Totally forgot about that. Yeah, so I think it's just like those very, very dorky games.
Yeah. And then when did you get into sort of momfluencers specifically? Like, what was your gateway drug to that?
Probably motherhood.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Really radical answer. But like many people who become mothers, the transition was not easy. I felt very unprepared for not only like the act of caregiving, but sort of the identity shift, and how disorienting it was and how angry it made me feel and just how many sort of injustices really came to light for me in terms of how we treat mothers and women in this country. I was searching for a way to inhabit motherhood more fluidly and less angrily, I suppose. And I found Taza, i.e. Naomi Davis, who was like the queen of a very certain kind of Mormon mom blogger. She lived in the Upper West Side. Her feed was very vibrant and colorful and fun and playful. She always seemed to be having like a truly joyous time as a mother. And that was very aspirational for me at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are a lot of people whose first internet memories, but maybe more specifically their first like parasocial relationships were with mommy bloggers like that, like you. And I think this is a great entryway into our topic today because we're here to talk about a very specific side of the internet. If you haven't heard of the secret lives of Mormon wives, you've probably heard about the scandal that precedes it because it was a huge online mommy subreddit, New York Post covered controversy back in 2022 when a Utah influencer named Taylor Frankie Paul said that her and her then husband were intimate with a bunch of people in their insular Mormon mommy friend group.
One of the most salacious headlines in mom influencing, the Mormon MomTok community scandal.
MomTok, a bunch of Utah moms swinging, partner swapping, being scandalous.
And that group is called MomTok, which revolves around Taylor and her friends who also happen to be influencers. They make these very choreographed videos with like 6 women in one frame dancing to viral TikTok songs or trends. And they also happen to be, through this, the breadwinners of their families. And those families range from married in their early 20s with another baby on the way to divorced and trying to get back into the group for brand deals.
Mm-hmm. And in September of 2024, Hulu makes a show about this friend group. It's called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Sara, when did you start watching and were you like excited about it going in?
I don't know if I was excited. I think I probably watched it like quote unquote for work because it's very much in my wheelhouse.
Sure.
And I didn't, when the whole soft swinging scandal was happening, I wasn't covering that super closely, like in real time. And I remember my first reaction was sort of like a letdown because I felt like it was just like Real Housewives, but like kind of Mormon. It didn't feel particularly different from that formula. And I guess I still feel that way. But I do think like after sitting with both seasons, there is a lot to talk about in terms of gender roles, in terms of trad wife culture, in terms of the Mormon church.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because, like, this show is hitting at such a specific moment where, like, there was something so inherently scandalous and salacious and juicy, just even in the title alone. And season 1 was a hit. The second season dropped just, a few weeks ago, which was 8 months later after season 1. So many updates about these women, so many new faces, both plastically and just in general. And they are just now more famous than ever.
Yeah, it's one of those really kind of rare, successful TikTok star to mainstream star transformations, even though, like, mainstream is a bit broad. They're reality stars, but still, there's this blend that they continue in the show where, their roots are in TikTok and creating, but now they've kind of elevated a bit. But the people sort of behind them in frame are still from influencer culture. I don't know if anyone else peeped influencer Aspen Ovard. She was there at the party early in season 2, and she just kind of floats just around.
I know that name, but I can't remember why I know that name.
I mean, so it's so funny because I have to remind myself every year that Aspen Ovard has never been Mormon, but she basically was one of those, like, 2010s YouTube vloggers who, like, blonde, huge eyes, family.
Was she like the Christian Autumn, like pumpkin spice?
No,
you're thinking
not
of our girl Covington. You're thinking of
Yeah,
our
that's
girl.
Caitlin
Yeah.
Covington.
And we love her.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. Aspen is not Mormon, but she followed. A lot of people think she is because she got married very young, had kids
Right.
very young. And then she kind of had this moment last year where she split from her husband and started being very messy online and kind of recapping it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, I think she should be maybe an honorary MomTok member, but she might be better without it because, Sarah, after the first season, you wrote a newsletter for your Substack, which is called In Pursuit of Clean Countertops. And this newsletter hits on the things I also get stuck on in this show, which is the women say over and over that the reason they're doing this show and the reason they're posting these MomTok videos is because they want to, like, modernize Mormonism and get rid of, like, the stigma around gender roles. Like, ostensibly, they're saying they're doing all this for feminism, but you are not convinced.
I mean, it's very much a hashtag feminism, hashtag girl power blend of like third wave, commodification feminism. No shade against Macy because I find her quite charming. But she, in season 1, had the brand Baby Mama. And it was this big thing about, I want to support other women. And it's really the phrase support other women and lift other women up, to me, continues to be for this show. How can I support myself through capitalism? And in doing so, paint myself as, a lover of all women's choices, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, I want this thing, and therefore, because I'm a woman, it's for feminism, and so I should get it. And,
yes.
This season is somehow even more hypocritical, I feel, in regards to how they weaponize that feminism to ultimately continue to perpetuate some really backwards and selfish thinking. So, like, there are 3 main storylines that stick out to me. So Taylor, the influencer we mentioned earlier, and her relationship with her family, specifically her parents.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And then there's Jen, who is married to a man named Zach Affleck, who you might remember them from the first season because they kind of falsely claimed they were related to Ben Affleck. No relation. And then there's sort of the third storyline, which is the group's perpetual struggle with who belongs in MomTok, which, in addition to who we already mentioned, is made up of Whitney Levitt, Demi Engelman, Michaela Matthews, Macy Neely, Layla Taylor, Jessie Nadikara, and Miranda McWhorter. And so, I mean, some of them would take issue with me classifying certain women in that list as being in MomTok. It's a constant, like, struggle. But in these supposedly girl boss storylines, it's, Taylor's ex Dakota who cheats on her, and yet her family is pressuring her to just, like, get over it and get back together for the sake of these Mormon values.
I guess what I'm hearing is you deserve what you got because you, like, gave it up so easily. That's what I hear. And when you hear your parents say that, like, why were you expecting to be respected? It, like, hurts.
Then Jen's husband, Zach, who was about to go to med school, is the one who, like, lost his shit at the end of season 1 and said insanely hurtful things to her. And yet she's ostracized from the group because of the depression she's dealing with in the aftermath of that. And then, this looming threat of whether or not this person or this person belongs in MomTok is wielded as like a supposed punishment for behavior they claim is not supporting women, so like what you were saying, Sarah. But really, they just mean anyone not supporting whoever happens to be the one saying it at the time.
Totally. There was a funny, or I guess illuminating scene in one of the last episodes of season 2 where they're having that big meeting about like whether or not Miranda should be formally included in MomTok or whether Taylor...
They're having a conclave, a MomTok conclave. Yeah.
Exactly. And, of course, the looming question of like, will MomTok survive and what does MomTok even mean? And I think Whitney at one point says like, what is the business? Because they keep saying like, it's a friendship, but it's a business. And she's like, but like, what is the business? Which I loved because like, as a viewer, I'm also like, what is the business? And and Jesse, I think says, well, like posting videos together. It's like, yes, that is what it is. And I just thought it was really funny and telling how it was all, all of their lofty words about lifting other women up and, being a role model for other Mormon women really boils down to posting videos together.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I keep trying to figure out about this show. Like, there's all this talk about MomTok being a community of women, but then they start saying stuff like, we're doing this to, topple the patriarchy. This is about feminism. And I'm like, the feminism feels very individual when they talk about it. And I think the other thing I'm fascinated by is just how much this show is a product of the internet, but specifically Reddit and Instagram, because, there are fights that begin with like, she liked my photo, but she didn't comment, or she didn't attend the influencer event, or she didn't support me at the launch of my baby mama vitamins. And to me, I'm kind of glad they're breaking that wall of realizing that MomTok is not actually a friend group. It's a company. And I think like really the arc now is like Taylor, the girl who first popped off about the soft swinging. She was like their founder and CEO who kind of had some personal missteps, getting arrested for domestic violence, having a kid with a trashy boyfriend. And she, as an entity, like threatened the stock of the company. And this show is essentially about them electing a new leader. And I think the two that have kind of like risen, trying to rise, are like Macy and Whitney. But that's where it gets so succession-y, where it's like, this company isn't real, but you guys act like everything is on the line. I mean, Sarah, what do you think about that and just like that crazy dynamic?
I know, it's so meta in that they have to, put forth this narrative of friendship for their services and their goods to have any value in the marketplace. If they don't have this undercurrent of like, we're doing this for, ethical and moral reasons, saying no to the patriarchy through sex toys. Do you remember the big controversy about Whitney maybe promoting a sex toy in season 1?
Okay, so what do they want you to do? Because
so literally all I have to do is hold it and take a picture. Like just me and post it on my Instagram. That's it.
In the Mormon religion, we're very conservative. I worry about the people that I grew up with, specifically my family, seeing me promote this sex toy because it's very, very taboo.
And all of those story beats are played for like, well, but this is what this is about. We're breaking barriers. We're forging ahead with this new face of Mormon womanhood. And they have to keep that line going because otherwise it just boils down to, it's just a bunch of girls making videos together.
Yeah, the voting is so funny to me because it's like, you're not like you're not an LLC as far as I know. Like, you're not employees. Like, when you're all voting, like, I don't know, what does one person saying yes even, like, what does being in MomTok even mean? I mean, this is the question we're just going to keep circling. I mean, the person I really feel for this season is Jen. Jen Affleck, no relation. Because Jen is having a marriage crisis, a faith crisis, and a mental health crisis. And then she finds out she's pregnant. And all of this together, understandably, causes her to perhaps be a little standoffish at times. And at one point, she fully retreats. And the show says, they put up this like title card that's like, out of respect, we're going to pause filming her. And yet the things the other women are saying about her during this time are truly abhorrent. Like, the thing that really like that like gets me, like I've never been as angry watching a show as I am during moments of this show. And one that got me was when her husband Zach, you know, because of how last season played out, Jen's friends aren't the biggest fans of him, and so she's like, Jen is like, I really want you to go meet up with these two friends and like hash it out. They meet up, and then they do end up talking and connecting, but it's only to throw Jen under the bus and be like, well, I guess Jen's the problem.
There's always been an element of Jen where I don't fully trust what she's saying. I feel like not a lot of it is sincere or genuine. And I blamed it on the relationship. She's not sure what to say or how to say it because how Zach will react. But now that I'm hearing these things, I'm like, is she just not trustworthy as a person? Does she not like confrontation and she doesn't like to make people upset, so she tells everyone what they want to hear? I'm really, really confused.
She's expressed to me that you guys were so there that night, but then no one in the group has been there since.
That's what pisses me off because I have texted her. I have texts I can show you. Yeah. I love you. Do you need anything?
But she doesn't respond.
She doesn't respond to us. I've tried, so for her to say that, it sucks.
I only have Jen's perspective. I don't know what you guys have or haven't done. And obviously I'm gonna take like my wife's side because like that's what I'm supposed to do.
It sounds like a pattern. Yeah. We've only had Jen's perspective too on you. And it seems like it's not matching up, which is concerning. Things aren't adding up when it comes to Jen. It sounds like she is spinning things in her favor, like she's playing both sides, and I don't like that.
These friends are not sympathetic to her issues. They take it personally that she's not at gatherings. And while they don't know the full extent of her depression, they do know that she is pregnant. And it's wild to me because this is a community that really centers motherhood as being one of, if not the most important thing a woman could do. And so she's doing that thing. She's doing her purpose in the community. And yet these other women treat her sort of retreating to take care of that as like a cop-out for her to not be there. Like, I don't know, she's not there to do TikTok dances. And that's somehow a bigger issue than her desire to sort of take care of her baby. I don't know. Either, Sarah, do you have any thoughts on that storyline, or did any other storylines really stick out to you?
No, that one definitely did. For me, the scene that's just like emblazoned in my brain is when she takes the pregnancy test.
Yeah.
And is just broken.
Yeah.
And like, you can't not watch that scene and not think about the crisis of reproductive autonomy in this country. And like, it's never even a passing consideration that maybe she'll terminate the pregnancy. It's like, and that felt like just so dark to me that it wasn't, you knew this show wasn't even going to go there because they weren't going to go there. And then, and I guess in terms of the motherhood as being the penultimate, role or noble duty of a Mormon woman, it almost, I mean, obviously I'm not an expert on Mormonism by any means, but it almost felt as though, she's pregnant. She should be pregnant. We're all pregnant. Like, that's what we do. She shouldn't get special treatment because that's just what we do.
You're right. Yeah, that's exactly, like, they don't see it as any like big whoop, for lack of a better term. And that scene where she finds out, because, Mormonism, like what you were saying, like, how does this differ from Real Housewives? It's like, obviously they call things Mormon, they use the word, but I would say the way it asserts itself is in those moments, because it's like, I did wonder for a brief second of like, wow, are they going to go there with terminating the pregnancy? And then obviously I realized they're getting nowhere near that. But to watch, like, before that moment, before she realizes she's pregnant, she's thinking about, she's not sure if she wants to stay with her husband. She's not sure when she wants to do it all. And it's like the moment the baby is in the picture, you see all those options of a different life kind of shut down to her, because it's like, no, she has to keep the baby, which means she has to stay with her husband, which means she has to stay in the church. And it's so, so sad.
Yeah. And it's interesting because as we watch these women, I think the question that I keep asking myself is like, why do they stay in the church? Why are they doing the show? Is like the influencing it all, like, is that enough? Like, why do they have to put this on reality TV? And I think part of it's because I see some of those women seeing the show as like their agency, their like ability to kind of take control of the narrative back, because so many parts of their lives have been sealed off. And I wonder if one of those moments of agency was the swinging scandal that kind of started it all. Because first off, Taylor, who's the one who went on TikTok Live, basically said that all of her friends and her, they swing. She called it soft swinging because she was like, they basically do everything except for have penetrative sex. Great.
Right.
And, you know, the swinging scandal is the catalyst for the entire show. It's the reason Hulu picked up the cameras. And yet, they really only mention it in like an episode, 2 maybe.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I totally agree that like that is what brings everybody to the table.
Yeah.
But there's never any talk of like, you know, what does the Mormon community think about this? I mean, there is a little. They'll say like, oh, I was really embarrassed after the first season came out and stuff like that. But there's no talk of like, is it really unusual for Mormons to engage in, you know, swinging or any other kind of sexual activity that isn't just straight on, you know, hetero, married, penetrative sex? Like, there's no talk about, like, sex in the culture. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And then there's the whole, is it Kayla who's never had an orgasm?
Yeah.
Layla. Yes.
Yeah, and she's been married. She was married. She got divorced. She has kids. And it becomes a whole thing of like, you've never even had an orgasm? Da-da-da. And I remember that scene, too, where she's like, every time I get close to it, I basically shut myself off. And I was like, that's something. That's something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And, well, just like, you know, the show is very much like, we've got Whitney promoting the sex toy. They have the sex positive party for Layla, which, like, you could read that so many other ways. Like, that could read as very, like, ambushing somebody without their consent. I don't know.
No, that sex party to me, because, you know, when she's describing, like, what happens, like, she gets close and then shuts down. And that party is presented as, like, okay, the solution is you just haven't found, like, the right toy.
Right,
like, she's like, maybe you just like being whipped and that's why you're not having one. It's like, no, when you are going to reach an orgasm and then you shut down, that is internal.
Yeah.
And my guess would be that it comes from shame around sex and pleasure that is coming from the church. And I mean, I don't want to diagnose her, but it's like, I don't think it's like, oh, she just needs a dildo.
Yeah.
Right.
And Layla is, am I wrong? I think she's like maybe the only person of color on the cast.
Yeah.
I think so.
Layla's my, like, what is it? True neutral. Like, she just seems to exist and then get pulled around. But, you know, when we talk about sex, this show is obviously, because it's predicated on soft swinging and pushing boundaries, sex comes up a lot. But, you know, it's not just in this show. I feel like there's been a trend across a number of fundamentalist Christian creators online to sort of, and somehow a similar goal to like, oh, we're modernizing. Like, we also have sex. Like, I'm thinking of like Girl Defined. Things like that, like because I know, Sarah, you have eyes on lots of these creators. Have you been seeing this, and why do you think we're seeing this supposed sex positive push from these more like taboo places?
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely see a lot of trad wives posting really like, you know, romanticized little reels of them like swooning in their husband's arms or whatever, talking about how like, you know, a divine feminine and the masculine, you're supposed to submit to sex. And actually it's not really submission because you're choosing. And there is very much this like, if you just accept your correct, big scare quotes, gender role, you will have the best sex of your life.
Right.
And it's very much like, yes, never have sex before marriage and consider sex as like this gateway to shame. But once you're married and therefore safe in the eyes of various religions and cultures, then you're just like suddenly like a porn star.
Right.
And that doesn't make sense. Like if you think about just the way somebody matures, that disconnect is too huge to jump to overnight.
Yeah, it's a very weird, fraught relationship with sex, and I imagine could, to name a random example, make you get close to orgasm and then shut down because you're like, wait, I don't know who I am. Yeah. And it's just so interesting that we're even talking about the sex lives of these women at all, because I can't help but think about how far all of this is from the Mormon mommy bloggers who started all that we were talking about up top. Like you mentioned Naomi Davis, Love Taza. It's funny that you came to her as a mother. I don't know why I came to her as a college student, but I did. I found her. I had her bookmarked on Firefox along with like many of the other OGs. I want to talk more about how Mormonism changed the internet and vice versa. But first, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about how Mormon moms went from vlogging to swinging, and if it's actually doing anything to change Mormon culture. Oh, ICYMI listeners, do I have a scoop for you? So what is it, you ask? It's that Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Now, before anyone goes suggesting that this is just a rumor, know that there's actual proof that this kettle of tea is not only piping hot, but 100% true. So, yeah, sometimes it pays to be a little nosy, but it always pays to discover. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
Hey there, travelers. Kaylee Cuoco here. Sorry to interrupt your music, great artist BT Dubs, but wouldn't you rather be there to hear it live? With Priceline, you can get out of your dreams and into your dream concert. They've got millions of travel deals to get you to that festival, gig, rave, soundbath, or sonic experience you've been dreaming of. Download the Priceline app today, and you can save up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights. So don't just dream about that trip. Book it with Priceline.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Oh, ICYMI listeners, do I have a scoop for you? So what is it, you ask? It's that Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Now, before anyone goes suggesting that this is just a rumor, know that there's actual proof that this kettle of tea is not only piping hot, but 100% true. So, yeah, sometimes it pays to be a little nosy, but it always pays to discover. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/creditcard. And we're back. And I mentioned before we left that I was a follower of the OG Mormon mommy bloggers. And Sarah, you were as well. But just to kind of illustrate how far we've come, how would you characterize those sort of OG Mormon mommy bloggers? And how do you think we got from them to TikTok swinging scandals?
Yeah, I mean, Naomi Davis was very visually oriented. That was like one of her strengths and one of her pulls for sure. But even prior to people like her and like Amber Fillerup Clark, who's also Mormon, there was a whole sort of peer group of, I would say even more like OG Mormon or mommy bloggers that were writers first and foremost. Like their medium was really the written word. There was photography, like, you know, scattered throughout, but it wasn't like the central draw of their blogs. And it was really, many of these blogs were really about sort of actually breaking taboos about like maternal mental health, you know, the really hard, gritty, challenging difficulties of motherhood. And I think those early blogs were lifelines for a lot of women who just were not having that conversation either in their real lives or seeing that conversation in mainstream media. And I think that differs from now, where mainstream media does cover a lot of things that, you know, the systemic and emotional and personal challenges of motherhood for sure, much more broadly than it used to. But now everything is all visual, I would argue. And maybe Naomi Davis was sort of like the gateway between the two because like she definitely did SpawnCon. She did so many like family vacations that were, you know, sponsored by big luxury hotels and definitely did affiliate links. And then we go to MomTok, and they're primarily famous from TikTok, which again is a visual, it's much more a visual app.
It's also an algorithmic app versus Naomi, who was posting for people who already like, I don't know, who came to her and sought her out. Whereas like, because I'm like, how did we start being like, we're swinging? Like, I'm just like, that, God, like Naomi, she's not posting, but to me, I'm like, she's gone. Like, she'd be rolling in her hypothetical grave to see this. Yeah, and I wonder if it's like, I don't know, this the shock value, like how, or maybe they were slowly inching their way towards this. I don't know.
Well, they're also like in a different, I don't know, either micro generation or full generation.
Yeah, they're younger.
You know, so they like were much more raised in the culture of the internet and probably were had Instagram accounts or whatever at a very young age. Like, I just think they spoke the language of influencer more fluently than prior generations of mom influencers did. Like, as native speakers, I guess.
Yeah, it's its own language in a way. And I mean, like, I think kind of one of the big thesis statements that me and Kate have been thinking about is like how much Mormon mommy influencers kind of like created parts of the internet in ways that like you wouldn't expect. I mean, for example, I like interned for like a wedding photographer in college, and I remember at the time just the aesthetic being like brightness all the way up, saturation down. And I remember asking like, why? Like, why? And they were like, oh, because the mommy blogs do it. And when people want photos from us, they don't want it for print. They want it for the blog. And I was like, oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. And I bet people also bring in, like, photographic examples from mommy bloggers. Like, this is what I want to,
I once brought a picture of Naomi Davis to the hairdresser to get the
For the bangs?
the bangs and the long layers. Yeah.
Exactly. And like that's the thing. They created, they created a written language, then a visual language. And this kind of posting is, believe it or not, something the church reportedly encourages because they're like historians, okay? They're into journaling and scrapbooking and other forms of memory keeping, which I wonder if maybe that's because Mormonism as a religion is quite young compared to other religions. But blogging is kind of a natural extension of this. And I want to bring in something that writer Fortessa Latifi wrote on her Substack when she spoke to a prominent family vlogger who said, quote, there is a tremendous push from the church itself and from its general authority leadership to be public with your faith and your lifestyle and share it with the world. There really is encouragement from the upper leadership of the church to use social media.
Yeah. And this might be a careful what you wish for situation because while the church has not directly responded to MomTok and the storylines the Hulu show portrays, it did issue a statement sort of coincidentally around the time the season 1 trailer came out, and the statement is titled, When Entertainment Media Distorts Faith. And so a section reads, a number of recent productions, no names, depict lifestyles and practices blatantly inconsistent with the teachings of the church. Others irresponsibly mischaracterize the safety and conduct of our volunteer missionaries. We understand the fascination some in the media have with the church, but regret that portrayals often rely on sensationalism and inaccuracies that do not fairly and fully reflect the lives of our church members or the sacred beliefs that they hold dear.
And even though they're like, hey, not naming names, it's kind of obvious that they are naming at least a show. And I mean, like, also, they're probably to an extent kind of coming after Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which is probably one of the top franchises in that.
Also, I'm laughing at others irresponsibly mischaracterize the safety and conduct of our volunteer missionaries. Is that about Book of Mormon, the musical?
I think when they turn 18, they go on like a year-long mission.
Yeah.
And so I do wonder if there's any way that like when these kids are doing their missions, that people are like, oh, like the Hulu show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of like, they're getting reports from like Cuba or like wherever, or like the South American. They're like, hey, we're getting like a lot of people trying to convert just to get on the show. It's like really
just
annoying.
To get on MomTok.
Can you fix that? And they're like, got it. But like, it's good that you bring up missionaries because I think for some of these women, this is kind of their mission to kind of spread the word on TikTok. But what's interesting is like, I don't think we ever really see the women who consider themselves members of the church go to church in the Hulu show. I actually don't know if you can film inside of a temple. And so that's like a whole filming permit situation. But in your study, in your observations of this community, Sarah, do you have like any sense or inkling of how the larger Mormon community has been reacting to the show?
So, I mean, two things. I do, now that you mention it, think it's odd that they don't film them, like, getting ready for church.
Right.
Because that would be a huge opportunity to draw more of the Mormon beat into the, storyline, which is a huge pull for people. And both anecdotally and also from just talking to people who grew up Mormon, for both my book and newsletter, there is a big emphasis on like keeping up appearances at church. Yeah. So even when I think Jen and Zach said like, yeah, I'm not going to church right now. And I think Zach said like, it's actually embarrassing. And I don't really have a lot of pity for Zach.
Right.
But like, I do think they sort of missed an opportunity to showcase like church as social politics. And I was also going to say Alyssa Grenfell, she's a content creator and wrote a book basically for ex-Mormons on like how to talk to your family and how to culturally assimilate once you leave the Mormon church, because it is such a big shift. I talked to her for my newsletter, and she thinks it's interesting to track how the church is sort of trying to publicly align more with modern times and sort of like, you know, cater to, you know, demands that like there is more gender equality in the church, while also being really rigid in terms of like things that go on in the temple. And like, you know, they have all these religious ceremonies that are not changing despite sort of presenting a public facing like, oh no, we get it. Like gender, you know, we're equals and we just have different roles and that type of thing.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, which was like, obviously, like they keep saying over and over in the show, the women on the show, they're like, we want to modernize the church. Does anyone else share that goal? Like, is that happening kind of just like without them? I don't know.
There's like a ton of Mormon feminists. There's like a Mormon feminist journal, I want to say. And I talked to Lane Anderson, who writes a really great newsletter called Matriarchy Report. And she grew up Mormon. And she says there are a ton of women trying to reform from within. She cited a specific woman who was really fighting for women to get the priesthood, which is something they still cannot hold. And she was ultimately excommunicated. And
Put her on MomTok.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's so just, I don't know, just seeing like this hashtag rah-rah feminism from the MomTok gals versus like what it would take to actually radically change how women are treated in the church is like a real big difference.
Okay, that's the show. We want to thank Sara Petersen for joining us on today's episode. You can find her writing on her Substack, In Pursuit of Clean Countertops. We'll be back in your feed on Wednesday, so definitely subscribe. That way, you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating and a review in Apple or Spotify, and tell your friends about us. You can follow us on Twitter at ICYMI_pod, and you can always drop us a note at ICYMI@slate.com.
ICYMI is produced by Vic Whitley-Berry, Candice Lim, and me, Kate Lindsay, with production assistance from Kevin Bendis. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer, and Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. See you online.
Or at a soda shop chugging Diet Coke with half and half.